Here we go. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Chip Webb, homie, dentist, just man of the people, here today with us on the Build Stuff, Be Kind podcast, talking about your dentist practice. Do Good Dental. I am actually a customer, and they do good.
Satisfied customer,
I'm
would you say?
Very, very satisfied.
Okay, excellent.
Customer. I mean, I get to look at your face while I'm, staring up at the ceiling. So this is episode 2 of the podcast. Episode 1, we had Rajiv Patel of Nico's Barbershop, and who was a very good sport because we had about 47 technical difficulties. You'll see if you watch this on YouTube, all the
camera information.
Yeah, camera info. So you can see it here. It's clean,
Yeah.
but we didn't realize that it was recording also the level, the grid, the battery percentage.
Follow focus.
It
was yeah.
So, episode 2, we have made some much needed adjustments.
Working out the kinks.
It's
Looking good so far.
Figuring
nice
it out.
Smooth.
So excited to. I mean, we've had some good, conversations about what you're doing with your dental practice. Some people may be wondering, what the hell is a dentist doing on a podcast? Not, no offense to the dental world, but
Sure.
you don't always think of your dentist and think, oh, this dude knows his stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I do. The first time I went to you as a dentist was way out in Alhambra.
Yeah. West Phoenix.
Dude,
Ghetto
trek.
hood.
Was that where your first office was?
No, that was my third office. I've been a dentist over 10 years at this point. So
Okay.
worked in Illinois a few years, worked in Mesa a year, worked out in West Phoenix for a year, and now I bought this office where I'm at in Tempe for it's been 3 years now, a little over.
And that's your own.
Yeah, so this is the one that I actually have purchased. So before, I feel like as a dentist, you kind of get some reps in, and I mean, some people jump straight into ownership, but I think some people just kind of figure out what they want before they go and purchase it. And that was me. I was more focused on paying down student loans, trying to get out of debt.
Yeah.
I wasn't eager to take on additional debt in purchasing a business. So later on, I kind of realized, okay, this is what I want to do. I had a better vision of who I wanted to be as a dentist, because there's a lot of different kinds of dentists out there. And the opportunity presented itself. And even though I had a lot of curveballs along the way, things didn't hash out the way I was planning in the time frame that I was planning, but it never does. And it's worked out great. I mean, I have zero complaints. So.
Yeah.
But yes, I own this office.
Well, so back to that first experience, I think I don't even remember the scenario, but I think I had maybe posted on social, I need a new dentist or something. And you just hit me up, you're like, dude, come in, I'll take care of you. And one, I think you hooked me up, or I don't even think you charged me, to be honest. I think we traded maybe photos or something.
Some merch
or
photos,
yeah, product
something.
or something. I don't know. I was,
My greatest weakness is I love seeing friends and family. When they come in, it makes my day. I'll go in, I'll work 8 hours, I'll do root canals and implants and veneers and whatever. I love the work. But when a friend comes in, I will schedule time to be I'm going to hang and chat for a minute. And so that's kind of who I am, which, some people are really leery to come in. They're like, oh, no, I don't want to come burden you. And I'm like, this makes my day. Come in,
Totally.
please. And let's hang out and talk. And
no, I love that. And I think that in a lot of ways translates to the people you surround yourself with, because even though that office out in West Phoenix wasn't your office, I feel like when you were there, and I don't know if it was different when you weren't there, but every tech or receptionist or what do you call the assistant was very much
all people in a dental office,
interacting with you in a way that I feel like they also felt like your friends, and you treated them with a certain level of respect, but it was a very hey, we're we're doing this together. Like this is like a team effort, and I think that's something unique about that I've experienced, and now with your new place, like there's definitely a vibe that you've created with the people you bring in, and with like how the look and feel, and maybe we can even dive in there. Like one, going into your office, it's very different than most dental offices. It's very actually similar vibe to this, kind of Scandinavian, modern, really clean, fun artwork. I know you just did a art wall gallery as well that I haven't yet to experience, but what of those decisions are intentional of creating an experience and setting maybe a different tone, and what is just kind of natural to, that's just the things you like? And so how have you thought about like creating a unique experience as a dentist?
So for me, I feel like I agree with you. The office is gorgeous. Like I would love to say I had more of a hand in the design, but I purchased the office partially because of how beautiful it was. I still feel like it's an office that when people come in, like, this is the most beautiful dental office I've ever seen. And it's not gaudy beautiful. I feel like some dental offices are like
totally
fish tanks, and it's like feels like you're in some sort of mansion. This feels like it's a clean, like, beautiful space. It's like IKEA Plus or something. Totally. Like, and so I really fell in love with the office, and I have made some changes. I have more in my brain that need to materialize, and like just put in the time and effort on my days off to build those things or hang those photos or see that vision materialize. But it was already such a good start that I didn't have to do too much. So I love that. I think it's, if you've been to a prettier office, I'd like to see it. It's really one of my favorite spaces.
So just like, what's your reasoning for doing that? Like, why did you pick that space, and why do you want to make it the way you make it?
So kind of going back to Sean's question and yours, I think a lot of work, the joy is in the work and being good at what you do. The joy is in the people that you work with, and the joy is in the space that you work in. So I've worked in some offices, like the office in Mesa that we bought and went into. It was a shock because my office in Illinois that I'd worked in for 3 years, straight out of dental school, it was a brand new office, de novo office. Everything was fresh, crisp, new, worked great. And I was just like, oh, okay, this is great. And then going and working in the office in Mesa, everything needed to be redone. Like the walls were these bright oranges and green. It like hurt your eyes to walk in. Yeah. So step one, we're painting these walls. And I didn't own the office. The people that own it, I'm like, you gotta paint these walls right now. And so we painted the walls, redid the countertops that were old. Like, just there's something to your space that needs to make you happy. Totally back to Sean's question a little bit about the people. Every space I've gone into, when I go into an office, the dentist is kind of seen as a leader whether they own it or not. So you get there and you set the tone a little bit with who you are. And I'm not some sort of super rigid, like, here's how we're doing things and here's the systems. I'm more just like, we're all co-leading this office. Like, be a leader in your own individual field, and let's all collaborate and lift all boats with the tide. And in Illinois, when I started, fresh out of school, hadn't really done much. The company I worked with put together such an awesome team that I feel like it was maybe a month or two of stress and getting to know each other and being like, I don't know if I like this person. I think we had one person quit and just wasn't a good fit. But for the most part, the people they put together were just fantastic people, my kind of people. And part of it is we're in the middle of nowhere, Illinois. So I think you did have a little more... I don't know. When you get in more saturated areas, you feel sometimes like you're scraping the bottom of the barrel a little bit, just finding a body to fill the space. Versus out in Illinois, people like took some pride in that, and they got good at their job, and because there weren't that many opportunities. If you get in a saturated area and people be like, I don't like it here, I'm just gonna go with the guy next door, and it's just like that's not a great attitude for building a great culture. But I get what you're saying. So wherever I've been, I've fully committed to that place for the time that I'm there. And even though I've moved on to other offices and eventually bought my own, I just feel like when you have that attitude of like, well, I could leave tomorrow, this isn't really my problem, it creates problems and just a bad vibe and culture. So that office took almost zero time to get to where we were all vibing, just having a great time, taking care of patients, working hard, having fun. Like, that's what I tell everyone. So we're going to work hard and we're going to have fun. And everything else kind of falls in place. Like, if you're all vibing and having a good time, then really the business part of it, oh, I need to make money, like it'll come.
Work
like, you don't really
out.
have to worry about it that much.
And your clients are going to, like, people that your patients that come in are going to feel that. And then, I mean, there's nothing better than word of mouth, you know.
You feel a vibe instantly. You go into a doctor's office, you go anything. You can tell.
Oh,
like, that person like working here? Is this just a paycheck?
Totally.
And, you know, dental offices are unique because they're a little more personal, you know. It's a little less, at least our office. I've worked in offices like that one in West Mesa. It was based on volume. Like, it was a clientele that went to the dentist once every 5 years, and they just came in droves because it was the cheapest place in town. And, you know, so you had this high volume, but you never really got to know anybody. So I only lasted there a short term, partially because I realized that I really do like the social aspect. I like getting to know my patients. I like having patients that own a business that I can talk to them about and see how I can help. I had a lady yesterday, she's trying to sell her house, and I'm like, give me the Zillow post, you know, I'll throw it up on my Facebook, and like, that's kind of fun.
Totally.
We had an assistant yesterday that was a temporary assistant that we got from an agency because we had a really busy day and we needed an extra body. So there's companies you can call and say, hey, you got anyone for today? So it was her day off from her other job where she worked 4 days a week, and she came in because she wanted to pick up extra hours. So we'd never met her. Her name was Brianna, sweet girl, good assistant. But it was very interesting because she'd go in, we'd have a limited patient. Guy fell on a curb, split his lip open, broke his front 2 teeth. So he came in, and she comes into the office and says, okay, doc, I have this patient. I took an x-ray. And I said, okay, can you tell me anything about the patient? She's like, he broke his teeth. And I said, no, like personal, like, did you guys talk about like how it happened or where he works or anything? Like, what can you tell me about him? She's like, we didn't talk about any of that. Like, do you want to know that stuff? You know, like, she was just, her mind was blown. It's like, why do you want to talk to this guy? And I said, oh, that's just kind of how we do it here. Like,
sitting here for.
Well, and it's about them being comfortable. The dental office, it can be very transactional if you're not careful. And maybe that's a good way to make money. I've never really found. The money doesn't drive me too much, honestly. It's more about the relationships. It's more about the interactions. It's more about just going home feeling like you help some people out, and the business will do okay if you do that, is my 2 cents. So the culture's always built wherever I've gone. And, you know, out in Alhambra, when you came out, that was an office that already had some pretty solid people, but then you put in some right pieces and everyone's kind of helping everyone. And there is a vibe where you enjoy working together, you're joking around, you're working hard and having fun, and it's a good feeling, but it takes time. I've had some offices where it takes a year or two before we get the right people that have that same attitude, because not everyone does. They're hard to find sometimes.
Yeah, that makes sense. Talk to me about how you came up with the branding, the name Do Good Dental, where kind of the mission side of things came in. I know you guys came out to a few of our Keep Nature Wild cleanups and were part of that, and have done a lot of, I've seen, you know, interactions on social media, your team going out and doing activities. Where does that maybe stem from, and how is that incorporated into the name and the brand and the vibe that you've created?
So when I bought this office, they wouldn't let me keep the same name because they owned the trademark on it. They said, you got to think of your a new name for it. So spent a good while kind of weighing it out. What are we going to call it? Are we going to have a mission behind this? I read a book called Story Brand by Don Miller that I really liked, that just kind of went over, like, your business should have some sort of a story, and people should be able to relate to it. And so I kind of got in that zone for a while. I said, I really like this. And in the end, I was pretty much settled that I just call it Webb Dentistry. That was just going to be it. And because I really feel like I valued the fact that people would come in and be like, this is your office. You're the guy.
Yeah, totally.
You're going to be here for decades. Like, you're not going to retire anytime soon. You're going to take care of me. You're going to get to know me. You're going to take care of my children. And I really like that idea. As in my first year as a dentist, my first couple years actually, once a quarter I'd fly to wherever there was a dentist that I really admired, and I'd spend a day in his office. And so I'd see all sorts. I'd see like mega machines out in McKinney, Texas, of like there's 5 docs and they're just cranking it out and making tons of money. I saw little tiny shops in Schaumburg, in Chicago, Illinois, and the patients come in and they'd be like, oh, Oz here's been my dentist for 30 years, and I found I liked those guys better. I said, I like this relationship. I like this personal touch. Like, this guy knows what he's doing. He's one of the best dentists I've met, but he's not trying to like leverage that into being some multimillionaire. Like, he's trying to leverage that into taking the best care of these people, and they trust him in whatever he says. And so I kind of like the idea of being an expert, like one of the best to do it, but keeping in this small community, this little secret, it's, I don't know that I've really been engineered to be like, we're going to blow this up, magnify it, and then I'm going to sell it, and then I'm going to do the next thing. And, but in the end, as we were getting ready to just call it Webb Family Dentistry for those reasons, this book probably influenced me more than anything, that if there is a point in my life where my attitude changes and I want to open multiple locations or something, this might be a problem. Like, it's nice to have a brand name that does have a mission and a vision and could be repeated if you feel like you want to. So we settled on Do Good Dental after talking about it a lot, mainly because I really envied businesses that had a built-in infrastructure that, for every haircut we do, we're buying a meal. For every T-shirt we sell, we're doing this. Like, Tom's was the first I remember seeing, where they were like one for one. And they sloganed it, and I was like, you're like, okay, so what's Tom's? Well, it's 1 for 1. You buy one of our shoes, we're going to give one to a kid that needs shoes
100%.
in like Africa or something. And we're like, oh, cool. Well, how's your shoes? These are good shoes. Yeah, all right. So I still wear Toms. Like, I still have several of them. Like, they're way out of style at this point. Like, I feel like I'll wear them. People are like, wearing Toms? And I'm just like, yeah, 1 for 1. But that was kind of the first time I remember being like, this is cool. This is a business that has an arm built into it, and the business will still thrive. And then there's a back end where you'll find a whole community of people that believe in that, like me, and they'll then grow your business more than it ever could have on its own. It's the customers, the hero story brand idea. So I really liked that. And in dentistry, it was kind of hard to decide how we were going to build that in. I talked to a lot of people, and I had a lot of really wild ideas. One thing that I really liked that I'm yet to implement. Some of those
ideas were.
Well, so if you've ever gone down, they have these like machines at Christmas time where it's like you can go buy a meal for a family or something. The vending machines. What is it called? Like Let Your Light Shine. What are they called?
Giving machines.
Giving machines. I don't know.
That's what it's called.
But you can buy like a goat for a family in there. I forget how much
bought
it
a goat
is.
before.
It's like $200 or
it's
something.
Legit.
And that was, I was really excited. I said, man, we are going to figure out a way to like find a community we really want to help. And you say that you're passionate about it, but sometimes you have to get passionate about things. Like, you can't, a few people are just sitting there being like, you know what I'm really passionate about? Like,
for
maybe
my passion to strike.
Yeah, maybe your mom died from breast cancer and you're passionate about it because of something that happened to you. But most of us are kind of like, well, what do I like? Great, let's go down that lane and let's keep digging and digging and digging and get something an inch wide and a mile deep. And I feel like I'm often a mile wide and an inch deep. I love everything, but if you're like, oh, you like guitar, play us 20 songs. I'm like,
I got 2. Something I've recently really been like obsessing over in a lot of ways is this idea of like, because I can definitely get into like different than passion, but just like vision or where we're going and trying and living too much in, okay, what's like, how do we get the details of everything? And someone I was talking with was like, clarity doesn't come from sitting and thinking about clarity. It comes from taking steps towards that clarity. And similarly, I think you're saying with the passions, it's like doing various things, trying things, testing things out. I think you'll find more clarity and more direction than like, okay, let me sit here and really ponder and think about my passion and what excites me. And it's like, when that thing clicks, when you do that thing that really excites you and you can feel that passion, it's like, ooh, this is it.
Anyway, so Do Good Dental, we settled on we should focus in dentistry. We should stick in our lane with what we know. Cavities and dental decay is the number one disease in kids. Kids have a problem, access to dental care. Yeah. So, and just access to dental care products. So we decided that for every dental procedure that we do, we'll keep track and then add them up at the end of the month and then donate that number of toothbrushes. So if someone comes in and says, hey, I need a filling, and we take care of them, then, the coin goes in the bucket as far as like, okay, we got to do an extra toothbrush. And then at the end of the month, we find an organization. We've done Sunshine Acres is like a home over in East Mesa. We've done refugees that are. I have a friend who helps refugees kind of learn some basic skills that Americans know, like how to use a restroom and like stuff like that they don't know because they're from a third world country and they don't have access to dental care. So we donate toothbrushes, and it's just random little organizations that will come up, and we'll kind of have built up a supply of things we need to donate. And so sometimes I have to physically go find them and say, hey, like I'd like to donate this stuff. But yeah, I've done mission trips to Tonga and, bring dental supplies with you and hand them out. And it's good. Cool. It's good to kind of try to get something out there, even though I'm not like seeing the direct effects all the time. Yeah. It's more like, here's a bunch of toothbrushes, and they're like, great, we're going to hand these out. Thank you.
How do you feel like that impacts? So you made that decision. Mm-hmm. We're gonna be do good. We're gonna, have these kind of principles that guide us. We're gonna always be looking for opportunities. In what ways has that maybe surprised you, that decision? Do you see in the people you hire being attracted to that? Do you see in the clients that you connect with, or maybe these organizations? Like, is there anything that decision that seemingly it's a big decision, but it's kind of like, when you're, writing things on paper and making that decision, like you often don't know, you have a good idea, like, okay, this is our brand. It's going to be our logo. It's going to be, our mission and these things, but you don't often think about the ripple effect of, what even the atmosphere of Webb Dental versus Do Good Dental, right? Yeah. That small decision, has put you in a place now with Do Good Dental. Are there any things you can think of maybe that have surprised you by that decision now, or looking back on that, like, oh man, being Do Good Dental has really allowed us to do this type of thing or create this type of experience for our team or even for your kids or your family, or just the mindset? Anything that comes to mind? Yeah,
so I think for me, I learned a lesson a long time ago. It's like 19 years old, that people are more willing to give service than to accept it, basically. And when you give service, there's something in you that kind of lights up. So, there's the donation arm of what we do. I don't shout it from the mountaintops. I don't shove it in my patients' faces. I'll have a conversation chairside sometimes with them on the TV screen in front of them. It'll give a little summary that says, hey, for every procedure we do, we donate a toothbrush. But it's definitely not some big badge that we wear and show off a lot. It's more, I want to have a business that's helping out. It's less like, I want to have a gimmick that's going to grow my business. Like, I haven't ever really used it like that for whatever reason. Like, I realize that's why a lot of companies do this, but for me, it's more of a, like, I want to do this for the purpose of doing it.
You want to.
I will say though, whenever we, as a team, we'll do outings, we'll do activities, we'll have dinner. We went and did a rage room the other day. It was really fun.
That looked awesome.
Yeah, super fun. I'd never even heard of it. We voted. We're like, what do we want to do? Because we had a goal and we hit it, and we said, great. Let's do an activity. What do you want to do? And they said, rage room. I said, I don't know what that is. And it was a blast. But we also do Feed My Starving Children. We do trash pickups. Yeah. We do, like, we will have Saturdays or after work times where we'll go put a couple hours into some service. And like when I was a kid and we had to go to a service project, you're like, how long is this going to take? Like, what are we doing? Like, we're cleaning up the yard for Mrs. What's-Her-Face. And like, okay, whatever. And then when you're out there, you're just like, all right, this work is actually pretty satisfying. There's something layered in there that you can't put your finger on that feels good. And then afterwards is kind of the coolest effect, and it's usually on the team where they're just like, that's so rad that we did that. Like, and the next day, you did it on a Saturday, you're coming in Monday, and everyone's a little like, like you're a little more congealed, you're a little more filled up, your cup's filled up a little bit, like as a team. Yeah. I had a guy message me the other day. He's a physical therapist that I just follow him on Instagram. He's nearby here, and he messaged me after some video I posted, which I don't do great at creating content or posting content. It's always something I got to set time aside to try to do. But he just said, man, he's like, my goal is to like build an office and a team like that has the vibe and the commitment and the all-inness of your team. And I'm sitting there reading his message like, what? Like, I know we have that because that's what I love, but that's not really like something that I, again, like is a badge I wear around. Be like, oh, well, we're all like family here, Like, you should all like each other. You should all have each other's back. You should work hard and have fun. But ultimately, it's more of a side effect. And so him saying that like out loud made me a little bit step back and say, he is right. We do have a unique team. Kind of what you're saying. You come in and you're like, there's something palpable here that you're all like friends in a way and helping each other because you want to, not just because it's your paycheck. But hearing it out loud definitely kind of helped manifest it. You get a little emotional about it. And I'm just like, this is good, So that was cool to be able to like pause and recognize that. But I think that builds through those service experience. Honestly, I think that it takes quantity of time and effort in doing things, and
time.
It's not a single event or activity or like
it's not
mission statement
just
you're reading every morning or something.
Putting it on a wall and saying, hey, make sure you guys read that every day because we're about doing good.
Do you do those types of, I guess, projects or service? Are those just for your team, your employees, or do you open those up to like patients coming out and getting involved in that way too?
So as far as like full patient activities, no, that would be great. I think that'd be kind of cool. I've been in this office for about 3 years, so there are some patients I've gotten to know pretty well. I've done a lot of procedures on them. I've seen them for cleanings multiple times. I'll sit and chat with them and get to know them in their business. But if we did an outing where like, hey, we're going to go pick up South Mountain, like, let's all go, and then email blast everyone. I've never tried that. I think it'd be pretty cool. I mean, I think it would help drive that, like, here's what we're all about, by the way. Yeah. Because I totally have patients come in and they'll be like, I had one patient the other day, she was funny, where she was like, Do Good Dental. She's like, it sounds like some like cheap dollar store, like, oh, we'll do good, or something. And I'm like, oh, really? Yeah. And she's like, yeah, where'd that come from? And I was like, here's where it came from. I kind of told her my story, and she was like, I'm sorry. Like, she was like, I had no idea. And I said, no, I'm sorry. I didn't, clearly I'm not like telling people about it well enough. The fact that all you see is the name on the building and that's it. You're not hearing the story behind it. So it was a good, like, shedding light on people don't know why we're even called that sometimes.
That's an interesting point about brand in general, is like there's something to be said of we're constantly trying to make connections to things we don't understand. So we make assumptions based on all sorts of things. And so people will, if you don't tell people what your brand stands for and what you're about, even your employees and team or your customers will just put the pieces that they do understand and make assumptions based on whatever cues it may be. Because with the name Do Good, it could be, when we started, I joked like, oh, you do good. Or the word good can mean like good, great, best, right? Yeah. Or doing good as like a service, so it's like, oh yeah, you do do good job, you know, like
you do great dentistry. You do good dentistry.
Yeah, we do good dentistry.
I think it's good.
Yeah,
I guess.
So that's pretty funny.
One thing I noticed, because I jumped onto your Instagram to look at, you know, just learn more about your business, because I haven't been in. I'm not a patient. But I noticed that you have a lot of.
Brushes his teeth.
I actually brush my teeth and
tell.
floss. Can you tell
great.
from over there? I noticed that on your Instagram you have a lot of videos from your patients talking about their experience there, and that to me was interesting, because a lot of times those are like paid actors that are paid to do that thing, but these things seem genuine. And so I've just, from learning about your business now, it's like I can see that you've injected a lot of your personality into your brand, and that seems to be resonating with your patients as well. When you do those testimonials, do you is it like pulling teeth to get them to do it, or is it like
no, you just
do they want to do
Most
it?
people are fine to do it because, you know, they've had a good experience. You know, we're very good at what we do, and so I don't know what other dental experiences are, but yeah, I think some people would think like, I'm not going to go tell everyone how great my dentist is, but you know, I think we've never had kickback at all from any of those where we say, hey, you know, whether it's an Invisalign case or a veneer case, I don't do a lot like, I'll do other procedures, root canals and implants, but Instagram's kind of built for pretty things. And so I don't display a lot of the surgical stuff. That'd be more of a blood and guts page. And
it's like your TikTok. That's why you got to get a TikTok going.
Yeah, maybe I'll do a blood and guts TikTok. But even then, it's like, does the customer want to see this? Like, maybe some people are into it, but for the most part, that'd be if you're trying to like become a lecturer or something.
You can't necessarily
like,
see pain.
Yeah.
You know, you can see the transformation of, oh, your teeth were jacked and now they're better, or I saw someone that busted a tooth and fixed it, you know, so.
There's an emotional component to the cosmetic dentistry. I really enjoy it. Dentistry's funny because I have really latched onto about every component of it. I enjoy it. I think it's very interesting. It's technical. It has a social aspect. It has an artistic aspect. So dentistry is a unique field that I got into not knowing much about it, and I find that it fits me well. But being a general dentist allows me to do multiple things, and it's not focusing just on root canals or just on implants or something. So the cosmetic work is one of the more emotional, and the longer I do dentistry, the more I really, really enjoy doing like a smile makeover, whether it's Invisalign or veneers or something where people don't like their smile, they're not smiling, and then all of a sudden they're super proud of it. And you'll see with social media these days, you'll follow them, you'll look back at their posts, and every picture is them being like, you know, like lips closed and smiling. And then after you fix their smile and give them the confidence, everything's like these beaming smiles. And there's something in you that's just like, sweet. Like, I've helped this person on a level of confidence, which we all, you know, are trying to grow in our life, that, you know, just by them not being embarrassed by their smile or feeling self-conscious in a social setting or anything like that. So the emotional part of the cosmetic has really kicked in. I would love to tie it more to the give back stuff. Like, one of my initial ideas with Do Good was that for every cosmetic case, we'd buy a goat for a family, you know, because they're higher price cases. We use a super nice and expensive lab, and so it's like the price of a small car when you go and do a bunch of veneers. But, you know, we could try to build in some costs to do something bigger than just trying to give a toothbrush to a kid in need like we do for our other procedures. So we'll see if that's coming down the line. But the cosmetic's been really fun to do. Looks pretty on Instagram. One of the pieces of advice I got a few years ago is people know you're a dentist, but they don't know what you do. And that sounds kind of silly, but the point was, if you don't tell people what you're doing, whether it is fillings, crowns, implants, like whatever you like doing, people don't know. I got a text this morning, like 2 hours ago, from a buddy I play soccer with every Tuesday, and he said, "Hey, do you do fillings?" And I'm just like, I hear that all the time. My brother will ask me. He'll be like, "Hey, do you do like crowns?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, I'm a dentist, man. Like, I don't know what you're like." And some people think, "Oh, all you do is..." Yeah, exactly. So, it's kind of one of those that you do kind of got to put yourself out there, display it. That's a hurdle for me, is just not feeling like I'm boasting, bragging, trying to do it in an organic way that's just like, listen, this is going to be hopefully entertaining and informing. And, you know, if it shines through that I am competent, know what I'm doing, great, I am, you know. But my main goal isn't, I know there's a lot of dentists specifically that I follow that they're kind of fake it till you make it guys, and they're like, I'm the guy to go to in town, I'm the best. And me as a guy that knows about this field and looking at their case or whatever, I'm like, nope, you know. But when you advertise it that way, people just do it, you know. And
I've seen you over the years attending dozens and dozens of various education things that I've observed through social media. You being in whatever city these conferences, these events are being held, and learning various techniques. So to your point of you cover all the bases of dentistry, and you've explored and you've tried, and something that drew me to come to your dentist office, not just because we're homies, but because I've seen you taking that time, and it's like, it's clearly something you're passionate about continuing to learn. I'm sure, honestly, majority, unless it's like a required thing, of dentists are just kind of like, this is how I learned to do it in school, and, you know, I'm set. And that's something that I very much value in really anyone that I work with or you know, use their services, is like, are they taking the time to find the best practices? And it's not just, cool, do you have the fanciest, nicest new equipment? It's do you really take the time to, like, hey, you know, now there's a way of doing whatever, right? Fillings in a way that, you know, not that there's still people out there doing silver fillings, but maybe there are, but like, hey, there's new materials that are better for you actually, and stay, whatever it is. And I feel like that's something that I admire about how you've continued to learn and grow and try new things and incorporate those into your business. And like, is that something that you think about, or is that just like because you're curious and you just enjoy the learning side, or what is it that motivates you to really like take the time to kind of push yourself forward?
Definitely something inherent in me, and not every doc has it or cares to. A lot of that and I don't know if I should say this, but you know, who I worked with in West Phoenix when you came out there, part of why I didn't vibe well with that group was CE was a bit of a joke to them. Like they would kind of be like, okay, we're gonna do like 2 hours of smoking cessation CE now, and you know, this guy got certified who's in our company. He'd get up and he'd be like, yeah, tell him to wear Chantix or whatever, you know, like tell him to put a patch on. All right, we're done. And I'm sitting there being like, hey, I want to learn something. Like, what are you guys doing? And they're all kind of laughing, being like, yeah, 2 hour CE, you know, because there is a minimum requirement you need to get.
There is.
Yeah.
What's CE?
Continuing education is what CE means.
Okay.
So you'll come out of dental school licensed as a dentist, but then there's a requirement to get a certain number of hours of continuing education that the state dental board will say, you got to do this, because they want you to try to keep up your skills. Dentistry moves at a blinding pace. I mean, whether it's 3D printing or CAD-CAM technology, I mean, you'll get left in the dust pretty quick if you're just like gonna stay stagnant from what you learned from school and not go to any additional courses. So there's some required, but you know, it's a joke sometimes the way you can get them. Like you can just go on Colgate.com and take some free CE, and they'll be like, yeah, our toothpaste is the best because of this, and you're like, great, I got some CE, and you know, that'll meet your requirements. But
and you can tell, and I think when you think about where you are now, obviously a ton of education and learning and experience going into being a dentist, and that's its own challenges, you know, what you just described of learning new techniques, learning how to better treat your patients, but you're also a business owner and a brand builder and a marketer, and you know, you are an entrepreneur, how much of that is learned? How much of it is just natural to you? Did you ever think of yourself as an entrepreneur, or that eventually, you know, as you set out on this path of dentistry, you'd be building not just a dental practice, but you have this brand, you have this, you know, you have employees, you have a community that you serve. Where's the intersection, I guess, of like Chip the dentist and Chip the entrepreneur, and how do you balance the two?
Poorly. I try to, but it's something that doesn't come naturally to me. I very much have had to evolve in a lot of different ways over the years, and the way I evolve isn't so much like, oh, I so naturally want to like create this community, or I want to put myself out there more. I'm not really like that, honestly. I would prefer to just be doing an excellent job and in my sphere without boasting about it. But definitely finding various mentors and people that are pioneers in a way, and doing something that as I learn about it and talk to them and say, oh, this is cool, I should learn this skill, I should physically schedule time to create content for this, to build this space, to create this community. I mean, you don't need to. Like, I don't feel like I need to. You know, sometimes people are like, oh, I got to do this because I want to grow this to this volume or to this amount. Really, I could just put my head down and never make another post or have a vision for the office of the brand, and I'd be fine. I'm good as a dentist in chairside, and I would do fine the way dentistry is built, just working in my sphere quietly. But I do enjoy it, and I think that it's a fun challenge for artistically to think of ideas, to, I don't know, just push yourself a little bit, see what other people are doing, and then trying to grow yourself in those ways. So I feel like an infant sometimes compared to some people out there, like some of the people, dental specific, but even other people, like the way that they are posting, promoting themselves or their business in a very organic way. And I feel like I've got a super long way to go, but it's so fun to see that and see kind of the rewards that they have, not just financial, but just some emotional awards, some community awards, networking with really cool people. So I think that motivates me, and seeing people do that makes me say, okay, I've got to grow my muscle of doing this. I've got to exercise. I've got to make some really cringy bad posts and then force myself to rewatch them and be like, that was rough. Why was that rough? Yeah. And it's been fun. I mean, it's something different. It's a new area to explore and try and learn. And I think, you know, I mean, we very much obsess about brand, but also community. I think brand and community are becoming so synonymous and so intertwined. You want to build a business, you know, that grows and succeeds in the future. There's got to be this component of community. People more and more, as the everyday items in our life become commoditized by Amazon and others, where it's just you don't even think about ordering X, Y, and Z, we're becoming more attracted to aligning ourselves with the things that we are choosing and being more deliberate about the brands we choose to align with and support, and especially ones that give us a sense of community, that give us an opportunity to like not just connect one to one, but one to many. And I think that's the opportunity as a business owner and as someone who's creating a brand, is to find a way, because you don't necessarily think about, oh, a dental practice equals community. It's like, I go to my dentist and then I leave, and like, what do I care about the other patient that that comes in to the office? But I think more and more
we identify, oh, you go to church. Like, I mean, I know I talk to people all the time. We had Rajiv on last episode talking about Nico's, and I think a barbershop, you do kind of have that community element, and people talk about, oh yeah, this is where I get my haircut, and you connect on that way. And I think it's just creating that experience where people talk about a dentist or talk about the service you provide as an experience and not as a, oh shit, I got to go to the dentist because I got a toothache, right? Yeah. It's all in kind of the energy and the experience that you're creating. And so talk to us a little bit maybe about what are 2 or 3, I mean, you've talked about them in various ways, but 2 or 3 of the core values that you feel kind of ground the brand and the decisions you make, and then how are you using those, or do those have any impact on the way you're thinking about community?
So I do feel like the brand is based in excellent dental care. I think you got to be good at what you're actually doing. So there's a clinical aspect that I feel I'm excellent at. I hold the office at a high standard. Like, you can't not know what you're doing there, which is easy to fall into. Then there's the interpersonal staff relationship, and a subcategory of that would be the patient relationship. Mm-hmm. So those are kind of our core things. I always talk about just work should be a joy. It should be hard, and we should be working hard, but I've always been engineered to enjoy hard work and seeing the fruits of your labor. I was kind of raised doing a lot of manual labor, and so I don't mind hard work. I don't mind, someone comes in on an emergency and we don't get our lunch because we had to work through it and take care of this guy. Like, that fills me up. It doesn't drain me down. There's some people that they miss their lunch. They're just like, or if they're not getting out on time, it doesn't fill them up. So, those are kind of the core values. I'm curious though, because you were asking me, Sean, if I had to exercise and grow this muscle of building a community. I feel like it comes naturally to you. Do you feel like it's always come naturally to you to build a community, or do you feel like that's something you've had to develop and grow?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And it's something I have thought a lot about as I've, even in the process of this podcast, of building Honey House, of really evaluating what I'm actually the best at. Like you've talked about, dentistry and the things you're really drawn to, and that it's something you excel at. And for the longest time, I felt like brand, I really understand brand, and brand is very much about storytelling and connecting, and there is definitely brand and community go hand in hand. But as I've really evaluated it, there's something that there's been a thread in every business I've been a part of or started or done, that community, and it's like this thought of what motivates people on the deepest, most core emotional level. And I think that's where love, friendship, connection, really, those very fundamental kind of desires that we all have, is something that I think I'm always drawn to, and finding a way to have a brand or a business satisfy those needs outside of the actual product or service that we're providing. And so I feel like for me, I mean, growing up, my house was always like a revolving door. If someone knocked at the front door, it was like, well, it's not someone we know, because everyone, people would just come and go as they pleased. And my parents were very inviting. And so I think for me, community it has always been a part of my life. I'm a part of a religion where community is very incorporated. The friendships that I've had, and I think that that's something that I've realized is not just a natural thing for everyone. When building Keep Nature Wild, we'd host cleanups. We'd have people come. They'd be like, "Yeah, I just moved here from Chicago, or the Midwest, or California. I don't know anyone. So I came to this cleanup, and then we would hear, 2 months later, that same person, oh my gosh, I came to the first cleanup. I met this person. Now they're like my best friend. We go on hikes together, and so just like over and over, I've recognized that things that we just naturally, it's like, of course we're going to throw a big party and invite a bunch of people and create a great experience through these cleanups, to where it's this idea that the service that we can provide is giving people great experiences and a place to belong. And so I feel like it's taken me time to like think about it and think why and how and like things that it's just like, yeah, of course we would do that. It has taken me time to like write it down and really think about those decisions are deliberate because of what they provide to people. And I would say you are also very naturally community driven. And in fact, I've tried to think about like, and maybe but like, when did we become friends?
Like, what was the activity? I think back in high school, if you were into going to shows, you would go to shows and you'd see the same faces a few times. And then you'd kind of just talk to that person, and someone you knew that person. And so that's how you became friends, just repeatedly recognizing we're kind of going to the same stuff, we're in the same stuff maybe. And I don't know if there's a specific event where I'm like, we're friends now.
And totally. And I think that's a good, like, I think music is the ultimate community builder. Like, whether it's an actual show or just like, oh, you like Radiohead? I love Radiohead. We're homies, like, instantly, right? And I think that businesses should look at what music does and how it creates, like, there's fans, and this is something we've been talking a lot about. There's like audience or fans, and then there's community, and they're not the same. You could have, a bunch of raving fans, but community, and there's musicians that have done a really good job of turning fans into community, and there's brands that have done the same, where it's like, they have a huge fan base, and they've been able to kind of flip that switch of providing. And to me, community is built by providing an external value to your customers or fans that allows them to interact and create relationships in spite of you. And so when I think about community building, it's how do you create experiences? How do you create an environment, whether it's a physical experience or digital in some way, or just even with your team, that it can start there first, but really being thoughtful about how to create that. And so I think our friendship is a good example of, like, I feel like we've known each other for 15 plus years now, at least, probably. Yeah. And I think that's something natural that's like always feeling welcome and always feeling like we're homies. And that's not necessarily the case with everyone that I know or everyone that I'm friends with, right? And I think that is something that I recognize in you, and also see in the way you've incorporated that into your business, is that I'm sure each patient feels, because I've seen your interactions with them, I've seen the interactions with your assistants and team. It's like there's a friendship, there's a sense of, hey, I care about your life outside of the work you're doing here. And I think that's a big differentiator of like, am I, because there's employees that will do that. It's like, I'm here to just collect a paycheck and bounce. And there's bosses or owners that kind of have that mentality. Is like, you work for me, so I want to get everything out of you. Like when you're here, you're working and you better be delivering me as much value as possible. I don't know, and maybe you can answer this, is like, to me it seems you understand your role as the owner, which is to care for the needs of your team first and create an environment where those needs are met inside and outside of that environment, because then they will do their best work and they will work hard. Kind of how you embrace that role of leader or boss, or how do you, I guess, navigate that role?
So I mentioned that leadership course that I took that I was pretty reluctant to take. It was by a guy, North Carolina psychologist professor named Gerald Bell, and he wrote a book, and he had created this program. And pretty much what he did is he studied leaders and just said, what makes a good leader? Like, you just go to companies and watch CEOs and interview them, and he kind of decided, all right, there's 6 basic human elements that people long for. You know, that is a basic need inside ourselves that we need met in some level. And the best leaders kept a healthy amount of that. You can go to an extreme and it becomes a problem, or you can be deficient and it's a problem. And I think a lot of what connects us is the element that I'm strongest in, that I'm always trying to pull back, because overdoing any of these elements is bad. But it's the basic human element, a need to feel loved. So love is the category of these 6. If you're in a healthy zone, it's called team building. And that's where people can tell you care about them, and they can tell that, you know, you want to know about their personal lives. You want to make sure they're okay. If you go too far along that path and you get into the extremes, you become what's called a pleaser. And pleasers are just like letting people walk on them a little bit, saying yes, you know. I recently had to let an assistant go who I loved, but took advantage a lot of just, you know, our kid be sick or something, I'd be like, okay, we'll take the day off, we'll pick up the slack. And it got to the point where once a week it was happening, and it was stressing out the rest of the team. And so we had to let her go eventually. We tried to work with her, but she kept taking advantage of it. And so it turned into something that I was becoming a pleaser in that category. Like, I love this person. Your kid ran away from him. My goodness, don't come in today, you know? Or like, you know, like, you know, some people, their category might be achievement, you know, the basic human element that people want to achieve. And they're going to these, like, that's all they care about, like Donald Trump levels of, like, I need to be the best achiever in the world. And it's detrimental. So it was really interesting to see that there's a balance of where you should be, what my weakness is. Where I'm strongest is that love category. I'm great at team building. I easily slip into pleaser. People can walk on me. And so it's kind of, that's, I think, a thing that bonds certain people. You find people be like, you seem to be strong in this love category. You know, you seem to care. You seem to be, you know, be more interested in the relationships around you than some of the other things, like getting an award. You know, you walk in my office, there's no degrees or articles that I'm the best dentist in Phoenix or anything. And that's intentional, honestly. Like, I don't think I have this big desire to.
All your certifications you haven't.
That's
put
just
up
it.
on.
I've done more CE than most people I know, so I could hang banners and banners of the classes I've taken, and I don't feel like I have this, like, strong desire to, like, show off achievements, I guess. But patients value that a lot, and half those things you see are purchased. I could show you my Instagram messages, and you know, all the spam is just full of people being like, give us $500 and we'll give you an award that you're the best dentist in the world. And so most of the time you walk in offices, I always laugh when I see them. I'm like, what'd this cost you? Like, oh, it was $100. And it's just like,
totally,
it works.
They do that in the restaurant biz too. When you get like nominated for any of the, like,
best buffet in Vegas.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Who's
You
voting
get
on this?
all these people
who's the
hey,
committee?
buy this plaque that you can hang in your.
How was this done? How was this survey done? It always makes me laugh, but it works. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah,
it'll never go away.
So I'm curious to know.
Sure.
You mentioned that when you were first starting out, you
Uh-huh.
were working in this office where it was very much about the turnover. Like, let's see how quickly, how many people, the volume of getting people.
Okay.
And you said you made the decision that you didn't want to do that. That you admire these offices where they have these long-term patient doctor relationships. So as you're talking about this stuff here, with achievement and with love, and you feel like that's something that you got, like, is it working? Those things, are you starting to see, because how many years have you had Do Good Dental?
A little over 3 years now.
3 years.
Yeah.
Is that working? Where are you starting to see, these people are coming to you all the time. We're having these more meaningful patient-doctor relationship.
Definitely, yeah. So, and I get value in those relationships. So it's definitely a quantity of time. You're in there every day and you're taking care of people, and you see the same people sometimes, and then you run into them out in the real world and you get to have a conversation. Like, that fills me up. So yeah, it's definitely working. Some clinics aren't built that way. It's just get them in, get them out, hope you never see them again. But that bothers me. Like, as a clinician, if I do a procedure, I want to follow that procedure for decades and see how it did. I want to see, like, if something's failing, I want to know why. It really is disturbing to when people are just coming in and you slap something in there and then you never see them again, and you're just like, did that work good? I don't know, And so yeah, it's traditionally less lucrative. In dentistry, sometimes volume's the way you make more money.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's a motivating factor for me.
Yeah, I'm curious. Just when you were talking about that, I feel like you take that time to be very transparent. It feels like, look, these are your options. This is why this one may or may not work. This is my professional opinion, but like here's other options, different things. And so I guess, is that something you think about? Is that, like, I guess, what is that something you experienced going to these other dentists or things that you've seen, or is that something unique that you approach, or is that even something you think about?
That's probably uniquely me. I feel like a lot of dental trainings I go on are teaching you phrases that work and teaching you how, you're going in front of a mirror and you're practicing, like, what to say, and they'll say, all right, 20 times you're going to go home tonight and say, in this cadence, I notice how your teeth are fitting, or should I say aren't fitting together, like.
Is that for real?
Yeah. No, I've been to classes where they'll say it's called phrases that work, phrases that don't work, and some of it's applicable, if you're going to get someone numb and you say, okay, you can feel a little pinch, it's a little gentler than being like, I'm going to stab you with this needle now. So there are some words you ought to keep out of your vocabulary, and CE's great for that. You can learn good best practices.
What role, if any, does kindness play in building your business?
Feels blanketed a little. Kindness towards my staff, kindness towards my patients, kindness that we're trying to give back to the community in some way. I think for me and my personality, being kind to others is a critical element. Being that love team builder personality type, I think that if we have a person working with us that isn't kind and treating their coworkers like human beings, or they're trying to be two-faced, they're not going to last long. They just kind of by nature weed themselves out, because for me, being the cornerstone and the leader, and you're not going to fit into the puzzle, and it's going to become evident. And that person either says, hey, this isn't working out for me, or we eventually say, hey, this isn't working out. And then you find those elements that have that kindness. So I feel like part of who I am is kind, and wanting to show kindness towards others. And so it's a critical underlying element to a lot of facets of my business. But where I'm trying to really make sure that the business is pre-programmed is that the financials of the business in these transactions that are costing money as I pay my staff and my rent, we have something carved out to give back to people that need it within our expertise. Giving toothbrushes to kids in needs is a one that falls in that realm. That is a kindness towards people that we don't know, we don't meet. We might go do a service project at like Sunshine Acres or something, but ultimately, it's something that is a kindness that is anonymous, more or less.
Yeah.
But it's built in, and I think that's the running thread through the business, the name, the intention of the story that we're trying to tell. That probably could be emphasized more, but it's there, it's palpable. Everyone kind of knows it and feels it.
Yeah.
It's just not always shouted every day at morning huddle. We're not cheering like give back
Yeah.
every morning huddle. We're more focused on patients and patient care and trying to add this layer of a culture to our office that is rooted in kindness.
Totally. Yeah, I love that. Something you said made me think about like kindness, or really any kind of core value, emotional trait, like will stand out. Like if that's the tone you're setting as the business leader, the energy that is opposing that energy, if someone's, if there's a kind energy about the office, someone that is unkind will stand out. And it could be whatever, emotional trait, kindness, empathy, patience, like there's an energy that is attached to, and that's why they're emotional traits is they're very much energy based, right? There's actions, but it creates a feeling. And so I think an interesting take is that the opposing traits to those will stand out, and if you don't fit in that, you're not going to last long. You're not gonna put out the same energy as the rest of the team or whatever, the community you're trying to build. And I think that being intentional about those things makes it much easier to attract people that have that same energy, to build a community that has that same energy. When we create a really strong strategy and really are thoughtful about what emotional traits do we want to stand for, what values, like what's the overall energy, that's when we can really be creative within those constraints and find talent, find customers, find people in our spheres that really align, because that energy attracts and rejects kind of the opposing energy. Well, I really hope that people got as much as I have gotten out of this conversation. The way that you approach your business, and my biggest takeaway is just how you have discovered, how you've remained curious, how you've really continued to push yourself through education, through learning, through gaining experience to not only hone your craft, but hone kind of who you are, what your business stands for, what you're all about. And I think that's something that everyone can apply is oftentimes we try to be perfect out the gate. We try to, spend too much time perfecting things before we get started, when really that perfection comes through action and trying things and learning and growing. And I really think that the way you are doing business as a dentist, as a service provider, hopefully a lot of people can take and implement into their service business, and thinking about it more as a brand, more as a way to provide value in a unique way. And I appreciate you coming on and chatting with us and sharing the knowledge that you've gained.
It was fun. I love the space. It's really fun to do something different like this, and I don't know. It's good self-reflection for me as well. So it helped me out.
No
Hopefully
doubt.
it helped others.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Chip.
Appreciate you.
Thanks, guys.